Okay, so here recently I did a video called Guarding Your Civil Liberties, and I was talking about Army Regulation 20-1 and other parts that have to do with the fact that the military has a duty to protect your civil liberties, and the Department of Defense had defined those as the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. So, and to make it quite clear that you need to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. So I just believe that the claim is my civil liberties have been violated. That's the claim. Now, if you're correct, well, then they can offer you relief. And so I submitted a Inspector General action request, which for use of this form, see AR 20-1. The proponent agency is the Office of the Inspector General. So if you use this form, it falls under AR 20-1. Simple enough. All right, so let's see what AR 20-1 had to say. And I just want to review what it has to say with a couple other manuals, and then we'll go read about what I did. And, well, we'll see what happens. I haven't gotten an answer yet, but I remain hopeful. So again, it's Army Regulation 20-1. You can download this online in Inspector General Activities and Procedures. And I just highlighted a bunch of different parts that I want to review real quick and move on to the next part. But let's see what we got here. This regulation prescribes policy procedures concerning the mission and duties of the Inspector General. TIG, right? That's an office. TIG, it's a man. It's a man. There is an Inspector General, and he has an office. So TIG is the man. It also prescribes duties, mission standards, requirements for Inspectors General, IGs, throughout the Army. Now, an Inspector's General isn't the Inspector General. He is an inspector of general things. Inspectors General. They can generally inspect anything throughout the Army. Responsibilities are prescribed for commanders, state adjutant general, and heads of agencies, activities, blah, 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 blah. Responsibilities. The Inspector General, TIG, will inquire into and periodically report on the discipline, efficiency, economy, morale, training, and readiness of the Army to the Secretary of the Army and Chief of Staff, Army, in accordance with Section 3020, Title 10, United States Code. That would be 10 U.S.C. 3020. Extend the eyes, ears, voice, and conscience of the Secretary of the Army and the Chief of Staff, Army. Outstanding. Just seeing the word conscience used in a military manual. Conduct inspections on systematic issues directed by the Secretary of the Army or Chief of Staff, Army. Directing inspections as prescribed by law, regulation, or as necessary. Conducting inspections for the DA, nuclear, chemical, biological surety programs. Provide assistance to persons on matters of interest to the Army. Okay, so if it's the duty of the Department of Defense to defend your civil liberties that they define as the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, one of those would be due process at the very end of Article 5. I believe in Article 4 it says security in your person's papers and effects. Those are two really important things to us because they never want you to appear in your proper person, right? So you're not secure in your person. And you're not, because of that, when they send you this paper of any kind that doesn't have your full legal name on it, Robert Allen Rutluski is mine, proper case, just like Mom and Dad wanted it to be. Well then, it's sorry about that. I just had a thought. Brother John, Handcuff John, called me here today and said that he had looked in the Chicago Style Manual, and in there, all caps letters, all capitalization falls under sign language. And so those really aren't words when you see them, right? So when you see something in all caps, it's really not a word. It's some kind of sign language. It's hieroglyphics, apparently. It's in the Chicago Style Manual, which you can look up online. And if I remember, I'll put it in this video. I just have to go find it and do it in another section. But Nevertheless, right? You're not securing your person, papers, effects, and you're not being given due process because they're not coming after you in your proper name. The mail is to your middle initial name, your name backwards, or your all capital letter name, or some variation of Mr. and Mrs., husband and wife. Some legal fiction they make up that may have parts of your name in it, but it isn't your legal name. You only have one. A weed has one legal name, right? So whatever it is, it is. And that's what you need to be sued in. That's your sui juris legal personality in your own name. And we need to make them come to after us in our own name. And if they don't, well, then they are violating your civil liberties, and the Department of Defense says they have a duty to defend those. And therefore, well, we could send a request to the Inspector General. So the Inspectors General will, right? So here's inspectors with a small g, general. So it's not an office of Inspector General, or it's not the title of Inspector General. It's Inspectors General. Execute the Army IG system. That's what I want to use them for. And the Army IG system is over the form DA Form 1559. Provide assistance on area basis as directed by TIG. To commanders, members, civilian employees, retirees, and others who seek help on matters of Army interest. Again, they have a duty to defend your frickin' civil liberties. So says the Department of Defense. Conduct investigations to resolve allegations of impropriety brought to an IG by conducting investigations and all these different ways. Well, that's what I'm trying to get them to do. Referring suspected law of war violations immediately to the chain of command for action. When I read that, I said, wow, law of war violations. I wonder what that is. And sure enough, there is a section of law called the law of war. We'll get into that in just a minute. Okay. Commanders, state AGs, principal officials, and all leaders and supervisors will ensure all personnel under their jurisdiction are informed of the right to register complaints with or request assistance from an IG. Ensuring that persons registering complaints with the IG, including the DOD IG and other service IGs, are afforded protection from reprisal actions as a result of their contact with the IG. If you contact the IG, that makes you a witness. You're protected. That's the highest office in the court. Not the defendant, not the prosecutor, not the judge. No, the fucking witness. Statutory authorities. And there's a bunch of them. I don't think it was so important. Inspector General concept and system. The Inspector General attributes. The Army IG system is comprised of officers, NCOs, DA civilians who embrace and exemplify Army values, the warrior ethos, and Army civilian corps creed. The IG hold a position of public trust. The IG hold a position of public trust. The IG hold a position of public trust. There must be something to that. The Inspector General system. That's what this is about. Command Inspector Generals. Anyways, the Army IG system is unique in both scope and implementation. The IGs work only for the commander or directing authority, but respond to the SA and CSA requirements via TIG and the IG systems proponent. Look at all these all capital letter things, right? These aren't words, these are acronyms. Army Civilian Corps Creed, that's a word. CSA is an acronym. It's in all caps. It's not words, they're symbols. Each of those stands for a word, right? Chief of Staff of the Army. Secretary of the Army. So S stands for Secretary. A stands for Army. They're symbols. The system complements the sports command channels. Okay. Some of this is a little bit too tedious. All IGs operate within an environment consisting of a commander, commander staff, commander soldiers, family members, DA civilian employees, retirees, contract employees, and other civilians. These individuals represent the IG's constituency. That would be you. You would be, and other civilians. Heck, you could be a contractor. You might be a retiree. You might be an employee You may still be in the military. I'm a veteran. Technically, I'm still in the military. I haven't retired yet. Not retirement age. And somewhere in Title 10, it says that all able-bodied men between the age of 17 and 49 are considered in the irregular, or no, the unregulated. How do they put it? Individual reserve or something like that. Anyways, you registered. You're in the military. You just haven't been called up yet. The Inspector General and Command relationship. All IGs extend the eyes, ears, voice, and conscience of their commanders. Hey, that's the second time they told me that. I'm going to take them for their word. All IGs are confidential advisors and fact finders to the commander. Everyone within the command will respect IGs for their level of expertise, candor, credibility, reliability, and trustworthiness. Well, that's a lot to live up to. Let's see how well they can do. The IGs must maintain a clear distinction between being an extension of the commander and their sworn duty to serve as fair, impartial, and objective fact finders and problem solvers. So give them a problem, see if they can fix it. All right, you're part of their constituency. Assignment of Inspector Generals. The IGs are assigned to commands, agencies, activities, centers, communities, installations, and states in accordance with established authorization documents. And so what would set these apart maybe from any other kind of Inspector General, because all the different agencies have Inspector Generals, is that these follow AR 20-1. Maybe not all Inspector Generals follow this particular regulation. They may have their own. So first of all, you need to identify somebody that does. Okay, excellent. This is your regulation. Now I know what you're supposed to do. And you audit them by, reading their manual. The Inspector General's sphere of activity. The IG's sphere of activity includes everything for which the commander is responsible and over which the commander or state AG has federal authority. Well, that would be treaties, as we'll see in a minute. The ideal location, this is for the office, heavily trafficked area where soldiers, civilians, and others can blend in and not appear conspicuous when entering the IG's office. But hey, you can mail it to them or email it to them or fax it to them, or I believe there's many different ways to do it. No officer, employee, service member, or DoD component may deny IG access to all documents, records, and evidentiary materials needed to discharge their duties, to include data stored in electronic repositories. So no officer, didn't say military officer, just no officer, no police officer. All right, pick the officer. No officer, employee, service member, or DoD component may deny IG's access to any or to all documents, records, and evidentiary materials needed to discharge their duties. The Inspector General, so this is TIG again, as confidential advisor to the Secretary of the Army and Chief of Staff of the Army. The Inspector General is responsible to the SA and serves the SA's confidential advisor representatives. Okay, and this is kind of how it breaks down. You got a dude called the Inspector General and the Inspector General system, which he's over. Well, part of that system is then the Office of Inspector General, U.S.Army. So I believe that's very important. And I don't know if I put that on, but I sent the form. But if you wanted to contact these people and to make sure you're contacting the right Inspector General, that's under 20-1, you would put Office of the Inspector General, U.S.Army. And you'd be talking to the right Inspector General. Under them is the United States Army Inspector General Agency, right? That's the field operating agency of the Office of the Inspector General. And Department of the Army Inspector General, the term DAIG, hey, there'd be them all cap letters again, is used when referring to both the OTIG and the USAIGA as one entity. Okay, so what's the main thing to remember there? Office of the Inspector General, U.S.Army. Send it to that office. Right? If you're putting that on the heading or something on anything, that's how I would address the place that you're sending it to. And you could then say it's to the Inspector General, because that's his office. I don't know if we need to be quite that nitpicky or not, but, you know, point it out when you can. Okay, I don't think we need that so much. What do we got here? Where of Inspector General insignia. Detailed Inspector Generals. Detailed IGs who are commissioned officers or commissioned warrant officers will wear the IG insignia following successful completion of the U.S. Army Inspector General School. These commissioned officers and commissioned warrant officers will not wear the IG insignia in official photographs, which is very interesting, but neither will the NCOs. These NCOs will not wear the IG insignia in official photographs. I don't really know why that is. I know that they are only an IG for so many years, and maybe that's why, because it really isn't a job description. I don't think you can call it temporary duty, but for whatever reason, they don't wear the insignia. Let's take a look at that. All right, if I can do this here. Bear with me. All right, this is from West Point, so I'm going to take it to be correct. Office of the Inspector General. On 26 February 1980, the Inspector General's insignia was approved by the Secretary of War. The U.S. Army Inspector General symbol is comprised of 3 parts. Each part has a specific and unique symbolic meaning. The IG's symbols parts are layered in order of precedence. The first symbol, the sword, represents military power and justice. The second symbol, the fasces, represents civil authority. The second symbol, the fasces, F-A-S-C-E-S, represents civil authority. Hey, civil authority ordained by God. They took an oath, swore to God. And they got the symbol of the civil authority. And if you go and Google fasces and read about it, well, that'll tell you that's the symbol of civil authority. It has been since ancient times. And I don't know why, but the Inspector General's wearing it on his collar. So I'm saying he is the civil authority. The third symbol, the wreath, represents academic and intellectual achievement. Emblazoned on a wreath is the IG motto, Droit Et Avant, which is French for first be correct, then take action. Outstanding. First be correct, then take action. You need to charge his action. This guy is TikTok. You remember I think it's the second Wizard of Oz movie, a dude named TikTok. Little metal man that you had to wind up. You had to charge his action. But he was good for 1,000 years or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was, but here we are. Okay, so they can't wear this in an official picture, but they can wear it. And the second symbol, the F-A-S-C-E-S, represents civil authority. Yeah, why argue with it? Use it to your advantage. Where was I here? Okay. And they get a certificate. All officers, warrant officers, NCOs assigned to IG duty must follow a 3-step IG certification process as follows. Need to be nominated. Approval by the nomination training in which successful completion of the U.S. Army Inspector School. The Inspector General certifies all uniformed Army IGs to perform IG duties after they complete the 3-step process. But certification is not complete until after gaining commander. The gaining commander or command IG administers the IG oath to the newly assigned IG. Upon successful completion of the U.S. Army Inspector General School, officers will be awarded an additional skill identifier, 5N, and NCOs award a special qualification identifier of B. Okay. So, until they have sworn, subscribed, Didn't say that. Oh, administers the IG oath to the newly assigned IG, right? So until they've got their oath, they're not an IG. And I believe in here we're going to see what they look like. The oath certificate. Inspector generals, right? Again, small g, general. Inspectors, general, of all categories who graduate the U.S. Army Inspector General School will receive an IG oath certificate as part of their graduation packets. And they look something like that. Having been assigned as an Inspector General, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will accept the special obligations and responsibilities of the position freely, and that I will uphold the standards of Inspector General prescribed by the regulations, and that I will, without prejudice or partiality, discharge the duties of office upon which I am about to enter. So help me God. There you go. Inspector Generals are never off the record. That's good to know. Be appointed as investigating officers under Article 32, 138. The IGs will not. Okay. I guess that is why I pointed that out. Oh, they got records, of course. So I wonder if they have a record on us already. All right. This is the next part, though. Okay, so what do? Well, Inspector General Assistance, purpose and procedures. Assistance as Inspector General function. Assistance is the IG function that provides soldiers, family members, DA civilians, retirees, contract employees the ability to seek help from the IG on matters affecting their health, welfare, and personal readiness. However, anyone may submit a complaint, allegation, or request for information or assistance to any Army IG concerning a matter of Army interest, period. You don't need to know anything else in this book except that. However, anyone may submit a complaint, allegation, or request for information or assistance to an Army IG concerning a matter of Army interest. Why is it the Army's interest? Because the Department of Defense has a duty to protect your civil liberties. And if somebody's mailing you mail and something other than your full legal name, well, that's denial of due process. By definition, an issue is a complaint, request for information, or request for assistance to the IG that does not identify someone by name as a violator of the standard. Someone charged by name with an impropriety results in an allegation. Oh, there you go. Complaint has no particular person involved. It'd be more like against an agency, where particular person involved, well, that's an allegation. And see Chapter 7 for specific policy guidance on how to identify and resolve allegations. So they'll deal with both of them, but they're just going to, they'll split how they do it. And so this is 6. So this is, we're going to follow their 7. Unlike the formal procedures used for investigations and investigative inquiries, the IG determines the best way to conduct assistance inquiry. The only prescriptive provisions to the process appear below. Step 4 has no prescriptive provision and is not listed here. Okay, so if you just need assistance and not an investigation, well, this is the Reader's Digest version of what they can do. The first thing I'm going to do is receive your DA Form 1559 as a base control document and to capture the workload for all requests for assistance presented to the IG, except for 1-minute IGARs as defined by, they even got a quicker one. Now, what I did notice about this form, I filled it out. I had found one online I could fill out, fill in the blanks. But then I found another one that wasn't filling the blanks, and as it turns out, there's actually 2 sides of this form. And the one where you can fill in the blanks online only has the front side, didn't have the back side. I don't know if that matters or not. So I'm just pointing it out. You might want to ask them, to send you a copy. Or you can just fill out what you want, because the Inspector General can fill out this form. You just need to give them a complaint. Right? The IG or complainant will complete a DA Form 1559. Well, let them do it. Step 2, conduct Inspector General preliminary analysis. Inspectors General will acknowledge verbally or in writing the receipt of all IGARs except from anonymous complaints and record the acknowledgement in the case file. Okay, and so I'm waiting to hear. I haven't heard yet. I put mine in on the Thursday between the holidays, and so it was just last week. And as you see, I pointed out a whole bunch of things, so I don't know how long it's supposed to take, but I haven't heard yet. This says I should, so I'll be contacting them next week to find out what's going on. And anyways, the rest of the steps, right? If you want to know what they're supposed to do, 1, 2, 3, 4, everything's in here. I just don't have time to quite read it all. We'll go down to this other one real quick and then get on to the next page. So, Inspector General investigation, purpose and procedures. Investigations as an Inspector General function. Investigations is the IG function that provides the commander or directing authority and other means through which to resolve allegations of impropriety. Inspectors General may investigate violations of policy, regulation, or law, mismanagement, unethical behavior, fraud, or misconduct. Inspector General who conduct investigations or investigate inquiries obtain evidence to determine if the allegations are substantiated or not substantiated, and if any issues associated with the allegation are founded or unfounded. Okay, so they got a formal type of fact-finding and they got an informal type of fact-finding. If the IG knows the complainant's identity, the IG must interview the complainant during this step or step 4. Okay, well, I'm waiting to hear. Step 4. I guess this is step 4. What was step 4? Inspector General's fact-finding. Okay, during their fact-finding, they got to contact the complainant. Step 5, make notification results. The provisions of blah, 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 blah. Not that much there. All right. That's in a nutshell. Now, one of those interesting things that I came across after I had sent my thing in was the thing about the law of war, which, let's just find it real quick again. Thank you. All right, referring suspected law of war violations immediately to the chain of command for action concurrent with report via confidential means to the next higher echelon IG and to TIG via DAIG's Assistance Division. Wow, what does that mean? Well, right. Okay, so Field Manual 27-10, Department of the Army Field Manual. Again, online, FM 27-10, Department of the Army Field Manual. The Law of Land Warfare. And I said the first 20 pages, didn't I? Hang on. Come on. Thank you. All this is actually pretty good reading. I don't have time. You never read it before. It's like, well, I didn't know this. Well, I never read it before. Basic rules and principles. Purpose and scope. The purpose of this manual is to provide authoritative guidance to military personnel on the customary and treaty law applicable to conduct of warfare on land and to relationships between belligerents and neutral states. Authoritative guidance. In other words, you better follow it. You better do what this manual says. If not, if you fail to follow instructions. This manual is an official publication of the United States Army. However, those provisions of the manual, which are neither statute nor text of treaties to which the United States is a party, should not be considered binding upon the court tribunals applying to the law of war. However, those provisions of the manual, which are neither statutes nor the text of treaties, all right, so if it is a statute or the text of treaties, then it is applicable, to which the United States is a party, should not be considered binding upon courts or tribunals applying the law of war. But if it is from the text of a treaty or it is a statute, then it is binding on the courts and tribunals applying the law of war. To conduct purposes of the law of war, the conduct of armed hostilities on land is regulated by the law of land warfare, which is both written and unwritten. It is inspired by the desire to diminish the evils of war by, and believe it or not, they'll tell you why they do it. The law of war is binding not only upon states as such, but also upon individuals, and in particular, the members of their armed forces. The law of war is derived from two principal sources: lawmaking treaties or conventions such as the Hague and Geneva Conventions, and custom. Although some of the law of war has not been incorporated into any treaty or convention to which the United States is a party, this body of unwritten or customary law is firmly established by the custom of nations and well-defined but recognized authorities under international law. Lawmaking treaties may be compared with legislative enactments in the national law of the United States and the customary law of war with the unwritten Anglo-American common law. I didn't even know we had such a thing. We have a thing called the unwritten Anglo-American common law. Where can I get a book of that? You can't. It's unwritten. But you can get the treaties. Law-making treaties may be compared with legislative enactments in the national law. So, to the military, a treaty is like the U.S. Code should be to a federal agent. Right? They got to follow the fucking treaty. Law-making treaties which the United States is a party. The United States is a party to the following conventions pertinent to warfare on land. And there's the regular Hagues and so forth, but Hague. Someday I'm going to have to go read these. That's probably what I'll do next week. But this is the one that matters right now today. Treaty on the protection of artistic and scientific institutions and historical monuments. Of 15 April 1985, 49 Stat 3267, Treaty Series 899, cited herein as the Rourke Pact. I did a video on this. Only the United States and a number of American republics are parties to this treaty. I just care that the United States is. They're party to the treaty. And so the military has a duty to do whatever the frickin' treaty says to do. Custom. Evidence of customary law of war arising from general consent of the states may be found in judicial system decisions, writings, or jurists, diplomatic correspondence, and other documentary materials concerning the practice of the states. Until a more complete code of law of war has been issued, the high contracting parties deem it expedient to declare that in cases not included in the regulations adopted by them, the inhabitants and belligerents remain under the protection and the rule of the principles of the law of nations as they result from the usage established among civilized people, from the law of humanity and the dictates of public conscience. Right? So you go find the laws of humanity and say, look, Army, according to this, you need to do this for me. Well, I believe they would do it. They just need to charge their action. Force of the law of war. The treaty provisions quoted in this manual in boldface are contained in treaties which have been ratified without reservation, except as otherwise noted by the United States. We looked at them. For these reasons, the treaty provisions quoted herein will be strictly observed and enforced by the United States forces without regard to whether they are legally binding upon this country. If the U.S. signed up, they're going to defend the Constitution, which means to enforce the treaties. Force of treaties under the Constitution. Under the Constitution of the United States, treaties, right? Constitution of the United States. That's the only one the Army cares about. I don't care what other Constitution you may think is the one to the military. This is the only one that matters. Constitution of the United States. Treaties constitute part of the supreme law of the land. In consequence, treaties relating to the law of war have the force equal to that of laws enacted by the Congress. Don't need the Congress anymore. We're under the laws of war. And the Treaty on the Protection of Artistic and Scientific Institutions and Historic Monuments of 15 April, actually it's 1935, I'm not mistaken, 49 Stat 37 or 3267, Treaty Series 899, cited herein as Lord Pack. Only the United States and a number of American republics are parties to this treaty. Good enough for me. I don't know how much more of this one wanted to read, but situations to which the law of war is applicable. Types of hostilities. War may be defined as legal condition of armed hostilities between states. While it is usually accompanied by the commission of acts of violence, a state of war may exist prior to or subsequent to the use of force. And so we're still under martial law because it's never been rescinded since the Civil War. Instances of armed or World War I. That also had an armistice. There was never a peace treaty. Instances of armed conflict without declaration of war include, but are not necessarily limited to, exercise of armed force pursuant to recommendations or decisions called by the United Nations, and the exercise of inherent right of individual or collective self-defense against armed attack, or in performance of enforcement measures through a regional agreement. Hey, what did they just say about this? Only the United States and a number of American republics are parties to this treaty. Well, that would be a region. It would be the states of America. In the exercise of inherent right, collective self-defense, treaties governing land warfare are applicable to various forms of war and armed conflict as provided by their terms. The Hague Convention apply to war, Common Article 2, Geneva Convention, 1949 states, blah, 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 blah. That's enough on that. Anyways, as good as that is, apparently every year the Army puts out this book here. U.S. Army, U.S. Air Force, U.S. Army, U.S. Marine Corps, U.S. Navy, Law of War Handbook. This would be the 2005 edition. And in this book, it says Law of War Handbook should be a start point for judge advocates looking for information on the law of war. It is second volume, a 3-volume set, and is to be used in conjunction with the Operational Law Handbook and Documentary Supplement. Neither of which I've looked at yet, but I believe that we probably should. It's part of a set. The handbook was designed and written for the judge advocates practicing the law of war. This body of law is known by several names, including law of war, law of armed conflict, and international humanitarian law. So who's this apply to? The judge advocates. And really, I just wanted to show this one page in here, and then we'll be done with this. Well, a couple things. The law of war is the customary treaty law applicable to the conduct of warfare on land and to relationships between belligerents and neutral states. That'd come out of FM 27-10. Hey, we read that. It is also referred to as the law of armed conflict or humanitarian law. All right, so it's like it is also referred to as, so now we're taking the law of war and we're going to split it. The law of war is the law of armed conflict or war, it's humanitarian law. But they're still the laws of war. Well, we want the humanitarian side. That'd be where the treaties are. As illustrated by a diagram on page 3, the law of war is part of a broader body of law known as public international law. International law is defined as rules and principles of general application dealing with the conduct of states and of international organizations and with their relations inter se, as well as some of their relations with persons, natural or juridical. The law of war has evolved to its present content over millennia based on actions and beliefs of nations. It's deeply rooted in history, and an understanding of this history is necessary to understand current law of war principles. You got to go all the way back to Romans chapter 13. Go find the civil authority ordained by God. I believe it's the Inspector General. They got the Fasces. So this is what I wanted to show. Block diagram of international law. And private international law, that's commercial law. In fact, they call private law or private international law, they call that the conflict of laws. Because it would have gone back to the time of the ships and sailing and so forth, where everybody had the right to be tried by the laws of their country, no matter where they were in the world. That's, so you have a conflict of laws. Well, that is what my law says. My law says this. I want to be tried by my law, not your law. Right, that's the conflict of laws. But we got public law, intergovernmental. And it breaks down into two things. The law of armed conflict, or what they called humanitarian law on the page prior, but now we call the laws of peace. I'd say that these are the treaties. And so if we can find a treaty that works to our advantage, then we don't need to have rules of hostilities and conflict management. We can be the peacemaker. Because we're going to work from the laws of peace, not the laws of armed conflict. Without going any further on that, let me show you what I mean by that. So, this is the treaty, 49 Stat 37 or 3267, Treaty Series 899, protection of artistic and scientific institutions and historic monuments, inter-American. Treaty signed at Washington, April 15, 1935. Proclaimed by the President of the United States, October 25, 1935. The high contracting parties, animated by the purpose of giving conventional form to the postulates of the resolution approved on December 16, 1933, by all the states represented at the 7th International Conference of American States, held at Montevideo, which recommended to governments of America, which have not yet done so, that they sign the Roerich Pact, initiated by the Roerich Museum in the United States, and which has as its objective the universal adoption of a flag already designed and generally known, in order thereby to preserve in any time of danger all nationally and privately owned and movable monuments which form the cultural treasure of peoples, have resolved to conduct a treaty with that end in view, and to the effect that the treasures of culture be respected and protected in times of war and in peace, have agreed upon the following articles. Wow. War or peace, it doesn't matter. They need to protect the cultural institutions. And they're going to adopt a flag. And I should have had it up. It's like 3 rings. 3, right? So I want to get this flag from the museum on a membership card that has my proper case name on it. And when somebody asks me for my ID, I'm going to hand them that. And so we just checked, or Rosita checked, and got a Roerich Museum, said it was $50 for a membership. But they didn't say if there was an application involved or how to do it. So we're going to find that out. We're going to apply and get yourself a membership. Because as you'll see, it applies to the members too. The historic monuments, museums, scientific, artistic, educational, and cultural institutions shall be considered as neutral, and as such respected and protected by belligerents. Hang on just a second. Okay. Hope I'm working again. Working. Yep. Article 1. The historic monuments, museums, scientific, artistic, educational, and cultural institutions shall be considered as neutral and as such respected and protected by belligerents. The same respect and protection shall be due to the personnel of the institutions mentioned above. The same respect and protection shall be accorded to historical monuments, museums, scientific, artistic, educational, cultural institutions in times of peace as well as war. All right, so not just the items, but the personnel. So if you have a membership card, well, you're in. Now, I have a baptismal certificate. I say that's enough. And so that was what I was going to do in my addendum to what I had already sent was, hey, this is a possible violation of the laws of war because they're violating the Rourke Peace Pact, which is the easy way of saying the protection of artistic and scientific institutions and historical monuments. But there is this part here. The signatory governments and those which accede to this treaty shall send to the Pan American Union at the time of signature or accession or a time after any time thereafter, a list of monuments and institutions for which they desire the protection agreed to in this treaty. The Pan American Union, when notifying the governments of signatures or accession, shall also send the list of monuments and institutions mentioned in this article and shall inform other governments of changes in said list. And so I don't know if it's on the list yet or not. For one thing, the Pan American Union is no longer. Now it's the League of American States or something like that. I don't remember how it is, but it's easy enough to find just by Googling. And so they're supposed to have a list of what all these entities are. And whether they do or not, I'm going to say, hey, the Roman Catholic Church is on there. Put me in. Because the Roman Catholic Church isn't the Church of Rome, right? It's almost like the church has been fractured into all these different entities around the world, where in America, we're under not we, myself, as a Catholic, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. Except they're a 501c3, and I may have to put a lawsuit in against them. But the point is, it's a mission church. It isn't attached to Rome, and so it is an institution of the United States, cultural institution in the United States. It isn't anywhere else. It's only here. Well, it's the same with a library, or you pick your thing that you want to be in. But if you're a member of a church, churches are considered to be a cultural institution, and so you should be protected by this Rourke Peace Pact. And so I'm gonna make the Army aware. I just hadn't done it yet. At the time, I didn't know that this part of this existed. But just went disappear so quick. So, anyways, what did I do? All that to say, this is what I did. Now, this was between Christmas and New Year's on the Inspector General action request. And right off the bat, I don't want to put my name backwards. I don't want to do that. That isn't me. I have one name. It's Robert Allen Vertlewski. It's my full legal name, so I put it that way. And because I was in the Army, I put my rank. It was Staff Sergeant. My Social Security number, I claim it. And I'm a veteran. This address, I used the address of the Inspector General's office for the Michigan National Guard. My telephone number and my preferred mailing address to myself and my proper name, sui juris, and my own person, care of my all caps, which is my business. It's my sole proprietorship and its address. Court of record. So, specific action requested. What do you want the IG to do for you? I ask the Office of Inspector General to investigate the ongoing violation of my civil liberties and God-given unalienable rights by entities claiming to represent the sovereign power of the United States, to secure me and my persons, audit my accounts, and return to me my life, liberty, property seized without due process of law. Information pertaining to this request. Take judicial notice. According to 6 CFR 37.3, full legal name means an individual's first name, middle names, and last name or surname, without use of initials or nicknames. Only one's legal name can be used to identify oneself in legal matters. Robert Allen Rutluski, my full legal name, is being suppressed, concealed, and suffering an enforced disappearance caused by color of law and simulated legal process. Take judicial notice. I consider this behavior not only violations of my civil liberties, but also violations of the law of war, such as the Lieber Code, and is evidence of an insurrection. As an oath-bound NCO, I must demand you take my testimony. It is my will that the Office of Inspector General acknowledge my full legal name as Robert Allen Rutluski, restore my civil status and sui juris legal personality in that name, including rights, titles, and interest in real and personal properties. As proof that Robert Allen Rutluski is my full legal name, I offer my certificate of baptism. That would have been Z in that name. Since my birth, errors and omissions have been entered into official records maintained by local, state, federal offices to ensure my full legal name is replaced by a pseudonym as part of a scheme to deny myself the rights, titles, and interests due as citizen of the United States and allow others to administer my estate during my alleged disappearance. Robert Allen Rutluski, that'd be my full legal name, has been replaced by various abominations such as Rutluski, Robert Allen, Rutluski, Robert A. Rutluski, possibly others, on vital records such as birth records, Social Security, IRS, U.S. Army Service, Utility, Investment, Treasury, and the like. I ask all official records be corrected and harmonized under my full legal name, Robert Allen Rutluski, and that all real and personal property associated by reference be made available to myself for my use and enjoyment. I include copies of various governmental official records along with a continuation sheet interpreting each as an expert witness for the Inspector General action request, or for this Inspection General action request. I do consent to release of my personal information. In fact, I'll do a video on it outside of IG channels, but within DoD official channels. Send it to the Joint Chiefs in order to resolve the matters listed above. Absolutely, as far up you need to go. On 2016, 12/29. And so, then I had all these different forms that I don't know I'm going to show. They just take too long to bring up all the time, but well, maybe not. Here, let me do this. Close that one. Close that one. Close that one. And that one. And close the wrong one. Darn it. Where are you? Okay, certificate of live birth evidences that the record of birth of Robert Allen Rutluski on September 5th, 1958 was not received by the local registrar until September 8th, 1958, a full 13 days after the event, and not in compliance with state law 5-day mandate. It was never corrected, nor was my full legal name ever properly registered, denying me my natural-born citizenship in the United States. The Michigan Public Health Code Act, Section 2821, states a record of birth for each live birth that occurs in this state shall be filed at the office of the local registrar not more than 5 days after the birth. the birth shall have been registered when filing is completed. And so that's never happened. Because here's my certificate of live birth. That shows I was born September 5th, 1958. And down here in 19... Date received by local registrar, September 18th, 1958. Well, that is 13 days later. Now, a brother called me during the week and said, hey, that's the difference between the Julian and Gregorian calendars. I believe that would be correct. And it could be, but I've seen people who've had them with, they're not always 13 days. Mine just happens to be 13 days, but they're not always. Some guy showed me one, it was like a week different. The point is, it wasn't within 5 days. That's all that really matters. And so since it wasn't within 5 days, well, then it wasn't properly filed and it wasn't properly registered. And so from the beginning, you were never registered in the United States as Robert Allen Rutluski, my proper name. It's been suppressed. Certified copy of record of birth evidences the creation of the legal fiction Rutluski Robert Allen during my infancy by some illegitimate tribunal in its probate case that is still ongoing. This pseudonym, Rutluski Robert Allen, is used on many official records, such as my DD-214, instead of my full legal name, Robert Allen Rutluski, to conceal and steal my identity and extort my property. I've been denied access to these records, which violates my security in persons, papers, and effects that I am the real party of interest. That's what they're doing. So here's this little jewel, right? The following is a copy of record of birth of Robert Allen Rutluski. Of course, it's in all caps. Does that matter? Well, we could. Who knows? But what I do know is they put my name backwards at the surname and Christian name, if one is given, with a comma. And instead, they put the surname, comma, and then this name afterwards. So the Christian name isn't before the comma. Right? So they put it backwards. They created this fiction. And the Circuit Court of Bay County did it. That's a gold seal, by the way. I think it's pretty cool. I, in testimony whereof I have hereunto set my hand and affixed the seal of the Circuit Court. Right, Stephen Toth. But here's the thing. I, Stephen Toth, the clerk of the county of Bay and the circuit court thereof, the same being a court of record, having a seal, do hereby certify that I don't believe there is a county of Bay. It's Bay County. Look at the Circuit Court of Bay County. It doesn't say the Circuit Court of County of Bay. It says the Circuit Court of Bay County. This dude's trying to wear two hats and, do two different things at one time. And, well, at the end of the day, I just think it's concealment. Michigan operator's license. So my passport, Social Security card stub, and Michigan operator's license. Evidence of Social Security account named Robert Allen Rutluski has the legal fiction Robert A. Rutluski as owner of the account. That passport was issued to the name Rutluski Robert Allen for the foreign jurisdiction, United States of America. The United States of America, with the being part of the proper name, is the proper style of the Confederacy established by the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union. It's in Article 1. And that an operator's permit was issued to a sole proprietorship, my disregarded entity, Robert Allen Rutluski, which proper person Robert Allen Rutluski is rightful owner, but now denied the fruit of my labors. What's all that look like? Well, that's this, right? I'm really glad I have this little piece of paper. Of all the things, the one is the one we just looked at, and this one here, this is the stub that goes to a Social Security card. Tear it off and keep the Social Security card. You're supposed to put this someplace safe. Thank you, Mom, for doing that. Detach this portion from the upper half of the card, right? This is the back side of this top part. So your name and Social Security account appear on the other side. And when you flip it over, this is what's on the other side. It's trying to say that my name is Robert A. Rutluski. Well, where did that come from? Right? Because when you get a Social Security card by filling out an SS5, and you go look at an SS5, there's no place to put a name in there with a middle initial. This is something they did. Right? They stole your identity at Social Security. And then this says for Social Security and tax purposes, not for identification. But when your tax forms come, they'll have this name on it. Right? But it's not supposed to be for identification. Yet here comes the form and that name. Go figure that out. And then on a passport, Ritlewski, no comma necessarily, but Robert Allen, United States of America. Well, that's the jurisdiction of King George's successors. It's not the Republic. It's not the Confederacy established under the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union. And operator's license. This is what they call a driver's license in Michigan, but it isn't a driver's license. It's an operator's license. It says it's an operator's license. Yet the law talks about a driver's license, so it isn't talking about this. This is an operator's license. But you can't get a driver's license. This is all they'll give you. And it's in your all caps, right? So it means I have a right to operate Robert Allen Ritlewski. I sign it my middle initial. Go figure that out. Okay, so, you know, how many things you got to show them whether that they're different? DD-214 evidence is the name is backwards and is owner of the Social Security account 374-506-794. Well, yeah, that's what it says. Right, name. Ritlewski, comma, Robert Allen. That's not my name. Social Security number. They just gave my Social Security number to Ritlewski Robert Allen. But on this other one, this one says that it's owned by Robert A. Ritlewski. Okay, well, let's make it simple. Let's just put everything in one and use the same type of name for all of them. Here's my honorable discharge. Again, backwards, Ritlewski Robert Allen. And as I showed in my last video, I mean, your Social Security number is not supposed to be on this thing. This is my first one. I was foolish enough to go in twice, actually. I'm very happy that I did. It was a wonderful learning experience. Amen. Department of Treasury, whistleblower. Let's see, what else we got here? Give me just a minute, please. We're almost done with this. Okay, my whole intention of doing this is I had all these different forms of things I've asked for over the last couple of years that I've saved. It's like, well, I'm going to put all this together and send it to the Inspector General and say, you take a look at this and tell me what's going on. So, you know, like my DD-214's got my name backwards. My Form 256A, which is supposed to be the honorable discharge, well, it's got my name backwards. And it wasn't filled out anything like the law says to do. The Department of the Treasury Internal Revenue Service Whistleblower Office claim number. I put in a claim on a Form 211, and I got an answer. Well, let's look at what that crap looks like. So this is the answer to, well, I'll show you in a second, the 211 form I filled out. But, right, how did they answer me? In my middle initial name. Right, and they wouldn't put my correct address. I put Oakfield on this one, Kent County, and they put Oakland. Right, and I believe that was on purpose. But right, dear Robert A. Ritlewski, that's not me. In fact, that's what my fucking complaint was. Not this one, but as you'll see, I made a complaint about that. But so I was complaining about Planned Parenthood Federation of America originally. That would have been on the Form 211. Where I said that Planned Parenthood Federation of America and others under this EIN number at this address Planned Parenthood Federation of America and numerous affiliated alleged tax-exempt entities are in violation of various sections of Title 26, U.S. Code, Chapter 42, private foundations, and certain other tax-exempt organizations. And I have to continue on another page. Basically, I was saying, hey, these guys claim to be tax-exempt, but they don't have the letter from a determination letter from the IRS that says the IRS agrees that they're tax-exempt. But what I wanted to point out was down here. So when it came down to do the name of individual claimant, right, I put my name, Robert Allen Ritluski, my Social Security number, right, claimant Social Security number, and my address. Because I had some room here, I put a note. I am the rightful owner of Robert Allen Ritluski, all caps, and Social Security number 374-506-794, not Robert A. Ritluski, a pseudonym used to cloud the legal and equitable titles of my private property. Well, I told them up front that, and, lo and behold, he sent me an answer to my complaint to my middle initial name. Right, well, that's denial of due process, and that's making so I'm not secure in my person. That's just kind of humorous. Well, what else did I do? I did a Form 14039 identity theft affidavit upon which I affirmed that Robert A. Ritluski was a pseudonym and that I've been unjustly attached to my person as part of a scheme to steal my identity and property. No, not that one. That's this one. Department of Treasury, Internal Revenue Service, identity theft affidavit. Submit it for myself. Federal records are affected. Since my birth, Social Security account, its number, and my ITIN have been unjustly attached to the pseudonym Robert A. Ritluski against my will as part of a scheme to enslave the peaceful inhabitants of the United States and extort their private property. I do not consent to any adulteration of my own proper name, i.e., Robert Allen Ritluski. I include an image of the stub portion of my Social Security card that falsely states the name of the owner of Social Security account, and its number is Robert A. Ritluski. The IRS continues to send mail using the pseudonym in violation of 18 U.S.C. 1342 and 18 U.S.C. 1341 and 18 U.S.C. 1001. I also believe that a 1099 OID, A's, 1099B's using my SSN are concealed from myself. Taxpayer's last name. Well, in this case, okay, they split them. So that's my last name, but what's my first name? Well, my first name is Robert Allen. I don't have a middle initial. I just have a first name. If you're going to make me say I got a middle initial, no, I don't have one. My first name's Robert Allen. And this is my Social Security number. I'm its owner. Yada, yada, yada. So, I sent that to August 25th. I got a reply to that one. To Robert A. Ritluski. We received your identity theft claim. We are firmly committed to working with victims like you to resolve identity theft cases. So I'm complaining about, my Social Security number, and they keep wanting to give it to Robert A. Ritluski. Right? This is denial of due process because they won't address me and my sui juris personality. Okay. Then I did a DD Form 149 application for correction of military record under provisions of Title 10 U.S. Code Section 1552 as filed, but no answer yet. I'm not really doing this for all you people watching. I'm doing this in case the military or somebody's watching. Look, guys, I did all this stuff, man. Come on. Look it. Name, Robert Allen Ritluski. You want me to put it backwards? I'm not going to do it. In fact, you got it in parentheses, right? It's deception. In accordance with provisions of 10 U.S.C. Section 1551, correction of name after separation from service under an assumed name, because apparently I did, because I served under Wreath Robert Allen. That's what all my paperwork says. But I want a correction. So I filed this form to get a correction. I'm still waiting to get an answer. Well, I'm not kidding. There it is. Right? You know, they don't have to acknowledge it, but at least I put it in so I can say, hey, I'm being denied due process. Oh, that was about it, I believe. Well, except I got an answer. What did I get for an answer? Open with. Hey, I got an answer to that one, to my all caps. Right, that says the veteran's name is capital Wreath, comma Robert Allen. Right, but they didn't say he owned the last four. He just owns the last three. 794. Yeah, because I had to, at the same time, ask these people for a copy of my records. And when I did, they said, hey, your records have already gone to someplace to be reviewed, and they can't get them back. I still haven't heard from them yet, but, you know, there you are. And finally, here just recently, I think I showed this in my last video, that I get this love letter from the IRS, right, for Social Security number 374-506-794, addressed to Robert A. Wreath, saying that Robert A. Wreath owes taxes. Well, fine, but that isn't me. I'm Robert Allen. And I own that Social Security number. Right? Robert A. Wreath is a pseudonym or a fictitious name or an AKA or a legal fiction or something other than me. It's not me. If you were to look around, you'd see all these kind of pieces of paper also. Before I forget, if somebody sent you something in your last name or your name like this, right, and they wanted money from you, you might just write back to them and say that you consider them using that name as a violation of your civil liberties and a possible violation of the Articles of War or of the laws of war. But I'll get more into that in another video. I'm just doing this to mark a place and time. Thank you very much. I believe this one done. We'll see ya.